What's up everyone, welcome to another camera comparison video. Today it's pretty hot. It's 40 degrees Celsius outside, but I'm doing this camera comparison video only for my subscribers and viewers. Well, today I have this Oppo Reno 6 Pro 5G and Asus Zenfone 8. Yes, Zenfone 8 can record selfie videos at 4K, but I am recording videos at 1080p on both of these two smartphones. Asus actually didn't release Zenfone 8 in China. As I live in China, I had to buy it online. It took a long time. I bought it online from Hong Kong, and I know a lot of camera comparison videos are there, but as Asus Zenfone 8 is going to be released in India soon, and Oppo Reno 6 Pro 5G also, so I thought this is the correct time to do a camera comparison video between these two smartphones. Well, check carefully which smartphone microphone is working better, which smartphone have better stabilization, in which video do I look better, prettier, which one actually rendered colors correctly. I cannot say it now because I am wearing glasses. You check carefully and make a comment. Which one do you think is better? One request, if you end up liking this video, then please don't forget to click on the like button and please subscribe to this channel. That helps a lot. Well, let's flip to rear cameras. Let's start our camera comparison video.
This bed that I'm in feels too big without you.
Regular photography is the most important thing for almost all the average users. People open smartphone camera application and start taking photos. It is true, most of the smartphones with a decent camera setup performs great under bright daylight. As most of the general users takes photos in auto mode, I have taken all these images in auto mode with auto HDR on. AI and scene detection was also enabled. The moment you check these photos side by side, you would notice a few differences. Exposure, white balance, color grading, shadows and details. Yes, almost everything is different. Exposure, shadow details and sharpening is well balanced on Zenfone 8, but white balance is not always on the perfect line. White balance changes based on surroundings and lighting condition. However, color rendition is true to life. I really like these subtle and natural colors. Dynamic range is almost same on both of these smartphones, but Oppo Reno 6 Pro reproduced social media ready photos, higher midtones, vibrant color grading, and slight overprocessing. These are actually usual for Oppo smartphones. I always prefer natural color tone with more details and balanced shadows. In my opinion, Zenfone 8 is well ahead in this battle.
Love me, yeah, but I need you.
I think human photography is important as we sometimes take photos of our loved ones, friends, and families. Yes, we took these photos on the verge of sunset. Zenfone 8 with a better sensor and better ISP obviously did better. Better contrast, shadows, exposure, and dynamic range helped Zenfone 8 to grab better photos. Reno 6 Pro tried to compensate less details with overprocessing, and that actually ruined the photos. Talking about processing, I need to mention Reno 6 Pro whenever finds a human subject, it always tries to add beautification, tries to brighten up the subject, adds fairness to skin. Sometimes under bright light that works good, but in a tricky lighting condition that hurts. I would choose Asus Zenfone 8 over Reno 6 Pro for human photography for almost true to life skin tone and well processed textures. Things are a bit different when we select portrait mode. There is a skin smoothing beauty effect enabled by default on Asus Zenfone 8, and that is even heavier than Oppo Reno 6 Pro beauty effect. Too much smoothness along with unnatural brightness. No, that's not an ideal thing to have enabled by default. Also, the bokeh effect on Zenfone 8 is a bit heavy. Yes, of course, we can always manually set it for more or less, but I've taken the pictures on default mode. Zenfone 8 and Reno 6 Pro both depends on the main sensor to take portrait photos, but Zenfone 8 applies a 2x zoom by default. There is no option to take 1x portrait photos. Both of these two smartphones have aggressive algorithm for subject separation, But Zenfone 8 has better edge detection. There are not many artifacts or sharp cutouts around the edges. Overall, considering the details, separation, line blend, and color rendition, Zenfone 8 is a bit ahead.
Through the crowd, look for the best way out.
Asus Zenfone 8 offers 2x lossless zoom, and in real life this actually works better than digital zoom of many other smartphones. Yes, both Zenfone 8 and Reno 6 Pro doesn't have any telephoto lens and depends on the main sensor. Zenfone 8 first shoots in 64 megapixel resolution, then crops the 16 megapixel center and then enhances it. It works fine for 2x and 5x zoom. These photos were taken at 5x and Zenfone 8 has produced better result. Would you agree? These clips were recorded at 1080p 30 frames per second. I am amazed to see how good Reno 6 Pro did beside Asus Zenfone 8. Better dynamic range, enough details, texture processing is almost as good as a flagship. And stabilization? That's insane considering this Reno 6 Pro doesn't have any OIS. Zenfone 8 doesn't only have OIS, it also have better SoC with better ISP. But at 1080p 30 frames per second, the differences are almost negligible. These clips were recorded at 4K 30 frames per second, and even if Zenfone 8 has OIS on the main sensor, but it depends on EIS for 4K videos. Without any hesitation, Zenfone 8 grabbed more details. The whole video looks sharper. But surprisingly, color rendition is not as good as expected. Sometimes it's a bit exposed with high ambience and shadows. Oppo Reno 6 Pro 5G on the other hand continued to keep its general trend, higher vibrance and ambience along with higher midtones. I would say both reproduced sharp and crisp 4K videos, but better stabilization and enormous details on Zenfone 8 puts it ahead.
My head is a wreck when I don't have you.
I was a bit excited about Zenfone 8 ultrawide camera cause it comes with a flagship class Sony sensor. It's a IMX363 12 megapixel sensor. Of course, this is better than any other generic 13 megapixel or 8 megapixel sensors that we found in many other smartphones. But the results are nothing fancy. Maybe I was expecting too much. Of course, ultra-wide photos of Zenfone 8 is slightly better, but sometimes white balance is pretty unusual and often dynamic range is very flat. It supports dual pixel PDAF, grabbed more details, and textures are very well processed. On the other hand, Reno 6 Pro as usual adds a bit of saturation, increases contrast and sometimes lost details in the shadows. But surprisingly, most of the time there is better dynamic range on Oppo Reno 6 Pro. Overall, I would select Zenfone 8 ultra-wide photos as it has more details and shadows along with natural color tone. Vibrant colors with plenty of details. Yes, both took good photos in indoor low light environment. However, after checking a lot of photos side by side, I have noticed details and texture processing of these two smartphones are almost the same. Yes, sometimes white balance jumps back and forth, but Reno 6 Pro actually saturates the colors a bit. It increases midtones while Zenfone 8 tries to preserve true tone. Color rendition of Zenfone 8 is better, it has more details, processed shadows on the perfect line, neither soft nor too sharp. Considering the price, considering the sensor and the processor, I would say overall indoor low light performance of Oppo Reno 6 Pro 5G is surprisingly well. It fought neck and neck with a proper flagship. I have seen people make distinctive differentiation when there is none. I think most of the time the differences are inconsistent and most of the differences are mostly related to personal preferences. It's not like there are differences that defines quality. Zenfone 8 has a 12 megapixel sensor for selfie camera with autofocus. This Sony IMX663 is way better than 32 megapixel sensor of Reno 6 Pro. Perfect skin tone, color rendition, superb autofocus, lots of details, wider dynamic range. I am sure you will feel happy with Zenfone 8 selfie camera performance. Oppo Reno 6 Pro selfie photos are not a match to this. Selfie portraits are better too. Yes, sometimes it may seem bokeh is a bit aggressive, but excellent separation of subject and background with amazingly processed textures on the subject, everything is fine on Zenfone 8. But there is some kind of beauty effect enabled by default, which surprised me, but truly I am happy with the selfie portraits of Zenfone 8. Oppo Reno 6 Pro is far behind. Finally, I know you have been waiting for this, nighttime photos. Sad but true. Once we move to night mode photos, I mean in real harsh lighting condition, in darkness, most of the mid-range smartphones struggles beside a flagship. Reno 6 Pro is no different than other mid-range smartphones. Also, another thing made me sad is it has poor color rendition in night mode. Yes, the colors are correct on the photos taken with Asus Zenfone 8. Reno 6 Pro actually continuously surprised me, once with great performance, then again with poor performance. I have noticed that Reno 6 Pro has very good exposure management and noise removing algorithm is almost flagship class. Yes, a lot depends on how you like your photos. Some people would argue that if night mode photos are not bright enough, if it's not visible, then why we need night mode photos? But I think there are 4 factors that defines a good night mode photo. I call it DENS: details, exposure, noise, and shadows. If any smartphone can get these 4 correct in night mode photos, then I will surely go with that. Here in this comparison, I have found it hard to define a winner, but considering all the aspects, Zenfone 8 is my winner. I know some Asus fanboys would say, what? How come a mid-range smartphone can compete with a flagship? And personally, I am not a fan of Oppo smartphones. But Oppo Reno 6 Pro 5G did better than expected. Of course, without any hesitation, Asus Zenfone 8 is the winner of this comparison. But Zenfone 8 doesn't offer true flagship class camera performance. What's your thought on this? Please make a comment and let me know. Also, if you have liked this video, then please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel.
What I need you to do is love.